Alright, so welcome back everyone. In this video we are going to watch me how I made this, and this is going to be like a time lapse of me working on this car. Roughly I finished the car for like almost a week, maybe like 8 days in total, while each day I think it's like average of spending 2-3 hours, maybe actually 2 because I procrastinate a lot. And also this car was made based on the 1986 Audi Quattro S182 Tribute. You know, the reference for this car project I'm making here actually has a lot, available on the Bring a Trailer. There's an auction car for it that costs $138,000, and 124 is like a tribute car for the Group B rally, which is really good. So I try my best to mimic it and kind of like the shape, the body, and also like the kit for it, just like the way it's shown on the references. I'm gonna put it in here so that you guys can see it. Now in this part I actually just try cut the wheel. It's kind of hard itself because like if you take a look on the reference card, just like plain looking at it in 1:1 scale, and then you try to make it your own, you're gonna be overwhelmed by the fact that it has a lot of molding on the body cases, because it's completely different from like just the Quattro in general. So it's like a hill climber, right? So the way I did is that I just kind of like want to make the body as you guys gonna see it later on too. It's like making the body first, very just simple, just like trying to mimic the overall, anatomy of the car itself, and then I start to add the body kit myself, just try to push it in there without trying to mold it from the original machine here, which is kind of weird in a sense, but I try to make it make sense by I cut and use some bullion to make it like actually attached to the car, so it looks like more toys. And I think the hardest part is where I try to decide how long the wheelbase is going to be, because like I have to work on the body kit, and also I have to pay attention to the doors, the windows, how long I want to be. But yeah, surprise, actually, I'm able to somehow just figure things out and finally able to just tackle it. And right here, I know I'm actually still contemplating whether I want to keep the overall width of the car itself kind of like square look spoon, or kind of make it quite long. I'm actually, crashing out quite often on this project and kind of rage quit quite often too. It might look so simple, the overall body of the car original cases like a square boxy look, but once you try to also want to make the body kit for it, it's kind of complicated. Try to fit everything in one place. So as you can see, there's a lot of using loop tools involved in here, relaxing and stuff. No, I actually skip it in here because I forgot to record the previous part before this one right here. So in this case, I applied the very first subdivision modifier, so that I have more topology and like a loop to work on compared to when I just like having it as a low poly. So here, as you can see, I start to cut everything: the window, the wheel, the doors. But I have to break the rules of the original 1:1 scale by I'm not making it exactly the same, because there's no way I can fit this part right here, cutting on the back, like the way the car actually have, because I'm kind of limited to how much the length of the wheelbase is, so I can make it make sense by just cut through around this part, and that's it. Cut it until down here. Yeah, as you can see. And then also try to keep it straight, because on the car itself, on the back side, it was the cut is actually straight line right here. But here's the fun part. When you make cars like this, it's like a stylized cartoon mini version. There's no really rule. You can make your own, and as long as the result looks cute and nice, then as long as you prove it yourself, that should be good enough. But for me, I try my best to just make it my own and try to figure things out while I'm going, so I don't really have any imagination on my mind as I go. But in a way that I already also have the idea too, from the beginning, that okay, I want this car to look basically like a small choppy boxes where everything is going to be exaggerated, and some of the headlamps or like features on the car is going to be like oversized. That's the main idea, so that even though I'm going with the flow, I still know what I should do next, because that's very important. Or nonetheless, when he's just gonna be like stuck in the moment and not gonna be able to do, and usually just like you leads to burnout, and you don't want to work and you just drop the project. As you can see, I'm trying to make a straight line and give it some solidify in there, doing it manually, because sometimes I like to use the solidify subdivision modifier, but sometimes I like to just do it manually, just to control the alignment of it. Now I'm cutting the door, as you can see, and also already make the low topology body kit. That's just for the references. Not like I'm working on it right now, because I keep it for later, but having this side already made in here just like to give me the idea that, okay, the body kit's gonna look like this, so I have to adjust everything accordingly. I'm not gonna try to make the cut for the hood of the front car, which is, it's fun because I can try a lot of different things and figure things out and make it my own, without trying to be too far away from the 1:1 scale, but also like trying to not be too different. That's the goal. Well, this part is just like refining everything, involving a lot of use of loop tools. I think this part I actually take a break. Okay, now in this part is where I start to giving the solidify on the hood and then try to cut it myself. Now, originally I was trying to make the work manually by doing some topology like this, but turns out it's just not possible with this kind of mesh, especially if I want to keep certain angle and the distance of each line. So, spoiler, I'm not doing this. You can do it, but it requires a lot of time, and I don't want to spend that time working on this part only. I have other schedule too. So as for the workaround, I use Boolean tools in this case. Now, in Blender 5.2, the Boolean actually has a nice feature, which if you cut some part, it's gonna be like the Boolean cut, the object that cutting, it's actually being merged together as a folder, which is nice. So you keep things organized without spending more time to it or like paying attention to it. So now I start to sculpt for the front end, which is going to be placed for the headlamps and the grill, the logo, and the everything. This is kind of boring and takes a long time. That's why you cannot just take one sheet and then finish it in a day. No. Sometimes you just gotta leave it, touch some grass for real, like go outside, what I really love sometimes when I just like, taking a break from this, is like go outside with my wife and then enjoy life. Trying to spend our best time together. And then enjoying life, So this one I take a break again. Talking about taking a break, I took a break, and I'm also a procrastinator too, which I open Reddit a lot of forums just to read things like things that I'm kind of like nerd into. So I procrastinate on Pinterest and Reddit and stuff, which is like it's a choice at this point for me to procrastinate, because procrastinate sometimes actually helps me to build momentum and to find more inspiration to while on the go on working on a project. So this is just like the adjustment of the body of this car right here. But later on though, I'm not just gonna like leave it. So this one, as you can see, the overall body kit is kind of like overlapping, just like straight going there on the car, like as you can see right here. But later on, I use Boolean also to make things neat. So it's like a way to cut it without giving it too much effort. Now the sacrifice on that using Boolean is that it's destructible, which means if you don't have the backup before you use the Boolean and you apply it, you cannot revert back and do some redo or like undo the project stuff on that part. But I take the risk, as I just like trust myself, I guess, at the point, like a muscle memory. So it's okay, and it turns out just fine. So this is going to be for the wheel. Now the wheel is gonna be what is gonna be usually shown on this car, on the A2 Quattro. This nice 1552 wheel type. You know, it might not actually 1552, but it looks like it, and I really love the wheel design on this one, so I make it like that, but kind of like a stylish version. So like this, right? So I think that's kind of like too small, so I'll make it bigger. Okay, so now the rim is actually almost done, and I procrastinate again. So this part right here is where everything shipped nicely together. You know, I usually don't use subdivision modifier until I'm very sure that the topology is already like nice and don't need any more adjustment, because you know, giving it subdivision modifier in the early stage is not going to be productive, and instead it's going to be like discouraging me a lot sometimes. So I just keep it like this, make everything chunky to make it looks clean and nice. So also, if you haven't checked out, we already have like 4 courses so far. If you want to learn how I made mini cars like this, you can check the link in the description. We have 4 courses I felt valuable, and then that's going to be like a bundle too if you want to learn from beginner to intermediate to pro as a bundle, and there's a lot of great deals, discount in there. Check out the Patreon for exclusive discount for Patreon member too, and you can vote for what course you want to see next. So it's really awesome. You know, it took me a while to finally have the will to make the course like this. Back then I really don't have time for it, but now I do have a lot of time for it, so I'm up for it. So the wheel itself is still not done, still a lot of, still need a lot of adjustment. And that's gonna be for the spokes. You know, you need to give it some loop too in there. So the overall body of the car is already like shaped the way I wanted, though I still miss that. I think it could be done differently. But definitely it's like I think I still have some room to improve and some room to work on in the future projects. So this is how I deal with the grid. So also, if if you put the course, there's gonna be like a lot of way to learn, because I talk each part by part how I made it from scratch, and I guide you on how I do it. You know, depending on the level of the course. The beginner, intermediate, and pro, I talk about walk through everything. While the expert, I talk about some of the part, and you need to figure things out yourself. Some of the others, based from what I've taught you, and there's been a lot of testimonial about my student studying about my course, and they found it very beneficial, and helped them to develop their own style, or learning some technique that they haven't seen somewhere else. So the course was very long, and it's gonna be like walk through everything from the beginning, from scratch until the model finally finish, including the shading method that I use, and then material, and then texturing, and then lighting, shading, everything until the end. So again, check out the link in the description if you haven't checked it out yet. Now this is going to be working on the spoiler of the car. Now what I love about working on cars like this, that it has a nice features, like such as, for example, the spoiler. Very nice, very big, very chunky. It looks so cool without, having the try so hard look on being a, rice car, as a GTM rice car. This is like quality, so, you know what I'm saying. This is gonna be like for the Audi logo. This is made content from this Taurus. Have like 4, and then use a array modifier and keep it there, and that's it. It's gonna be like working on the headlamps. It's gonna take some times. It's gonna be for the headlamp again. Now, sometimes usually for the headlamp, I love to use PPR texture without trying to, give it some more of a mesh because I want to save some clutter. But, if I want it, sometimes I try to give it more realism look by giving it some other meshes without using PPR texture. Now everything almost looks nice and, great and glory. This is for the grill on the airflow. This is like the list for it. Again, this is some extra part that I need to add to give it more of a detailed look because detail matters. Again, working on the grid in this one. And also for delivery, I actually made everything myself using Photopea because I don't use Adobe Surface anymore. I broke up with Adobe. I don't want to support Adobe anymore. And the price is not worth it, so I use Photopea instead. It actually challenged me to work on a not luxury space environment workflow. I edited every few of my video with Final Cut Pro 10, which I got earlier. I bought it for, I think like $300 on the App Store, I think. And it's so far, I think it's the best investment because I like working on a video cinematic too, while doing this 3D stuff. I don't use Premiere because I don't like Premiere, man. So this is gonna be like making the mirrors, which is strangely kind of absurd in its own way, but it turns out I love it, how cute it is. It might look kind of like fast in here because it's literally like 8 times the speed, but in reality, if you watch me working, it's just I'm sitting on a desk for an hour, and then not forgetting to drink and stay hydrated, which is very, very funny. So that's for the antenna. Surprisingly, it's kind of satisfaction, when you're working like after a long time working on the hard stuff like the body, and then you suddenly working on the small things like this, kind of like therapeutic on its own way, because like it's a relief, finally. But what's funny more is that sometimes I do the easiest part first and then do the torturing later. That's not good. So I probably redo the mirrors because somehow I don't really agree or like the previous one. So I made it again in here. So I'm taking the reference of again the auction side of the A2 Quattro S1. The mirror shape is actually kind of like contain 2 parts, not just one like this. And I try to mimic it in this chibi form like this. I take a break again. Okay, this one working on the flap on the window for stickers later on. I don't use shrink wrap on this, instead I make it as a solid object too. I think the most exhausting part about all of this is that after you've done the mod down, you still need to realize that you still need to make the livery. If your car that you're making have livery, this is gonna be how I made the caliper. But man, working on the livery is sometimes kind of like a slog. It takes time, takes patience, especially if you're wrapping, unwrapping the texture that you made yourself. I made myself, and it's just kind of painful. But I do love doing it. So, what's wrong with me? This is gonna be like for the caliper, low poly style caliper. But I think I redo it because I somehow just kind of like fed up with everything, and I just used the previous model one. I'm kind of like struggling in there. Actually, not look bad. Doesn't look bad. But yeah, I fed up, and it's just like, making it using the previous model one. Okay, now I'm making the chair. I'm working at full speed right here because I'm ready. Like, come on! I just want to see the result. I'm tired. I want to, make this done already. Because nonetheless, it's gonna take like a week or 2 weeks. But the case is different when I work on the client's commissions because I have to make sure that everything looks perfect. I've spent I think I remember the day I worked almost like 3 hours, 5 hours just for the interior, making sure everything is perfect, for the Shelby Cobra, because like literally you can see the interior from the outside, so you have to make sure that part looks good. And for my clients who is going to be like working on the I think it's like an old car on a museum. I think it's the Alfa Romeo. I forgot the series, man. There's like a lot of cars that I've made too that I cannot upload on my Instagram as a portfolio. So this is gonna be like the feature of the fog lamp, which is gonna be exaggerated. I love who it is. Like, it reminds me of those Vespa, old Vespa Vespa XL meme that has a lot of light, like GTA scooter. Have like a lot of fog lamp unnecessary on the front. But as for a car like this, I can understand that it's just gonna be necessary for when dirt rallying on night and you need some fog lamp, especially in the early morning in the UK. So I kind of get it. This is like working on the effects for the headlamp look without having like using a PPR texture, so you don't need to unwrap one by one, and it looks more like natural in my opinion. I mean, I like PPR texture, but like the pain that you have to go through to just like unwrap everything is not worth it for me. So sometimes I just use this work around to literally like sped up the production time. So this is gonna be the livery already. Like, I made everything myself on the photo fee, which is surprisingly looks really good, and it actually works just fine. Most people is gonna be like prefer using Illustrator, and then they throw everything with the Wacom tablet, like if doing fancy things. But I sometimes just like keep things simple. I just need my keyboard and mouse, and I throw everything in there. Make everything yourself because it's forgiving and it's not destructible. So there you go. It's gonna be very fun, and there you have it. So again, thank you so much for watching. If you made it until the end, I don't know what to say. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your support. Especially if you join the Patreon and you put the course, it's gonna means a lot to me to keep me going too. And if you want to commissions or want to see more course, feel free to drop a comment below and join the Patreon to vote what's the next course that you want to see. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay awesome, stay powered.